Do you ever feel stuck, like you're spinning your wheels but going nowhere? Do you crave change, but the thought of intense stress and years of effort just feels overwhelming? What if I told you that you could transform your life, become your best self in just 30 days without the stress? Today, we're going to dive into 7 powerful mindset shifts that will revolutionize your approach to personal growth. Forget about the long timelines and the burnout. These are actionable, practical steps that you can implement starting today. We'll cover everything from shifting from someday to one day, breaking down procrastination, and taking immediate action, to moving from perfectionism to progress and embracing those small wins along the way. We'll also tackle flipping fear of failure into learning opportunities and how to move from external validation to internal alignment. Imagine going from scarcity to abundance and realizing all the resources and possibilities around you. Then we'll talk about moving from reactivity to proactivity, taking control of your time and priorities, and finally, from isolation to connection, building those vital support networks. My name is Tracy D. Malone, and more than 20 years ago, prior to becoming a business consultant, I single-handedly solved a $370 million problem for L'Oreal Soft Sheen. Today, I get to spend my time empowering entrepreneurs to scale their brand, business, and mastery using my proprietary framework. Today's topic is 7 mindset shifts to become your future self in 30 days or less without stress. Now, if you want to dive deeper into this, I'm offering a valuable resource at the end. So make sure you stick around if you want to go deeper. Just a heads up for you that I'm outside. If you couldn't already tell, I'm outside, so I have no control over helicopters, airplanes, birds, flies, fleas, whatever. I have no control over it. So just keep that in mind. But my goal today is to get through these 7 topics, and I do have a notebook because I'm not trying to memorize all of this. All right. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with shift number 1. Shift number 1 is moving from someday to one day. Now, I've been through every single one of these that I'm going to mention. I've been through. And I can tell you that in order for me to gain any measure of success, I had to overcome these same 7 shifts. And it's not like once you overcome it, you never deal with it again per se. However, you do need to be intentional about attacking each one of these areas so that you can overcome and really see some measurable success in your life and in your business, especially if you're an entrepreneur. So let's go again. Talking about shift number 1, moving from someday to one day, right? We've all been there. Some of us will put things off, we will procrastinate, and we will put it off for as long as we possibly can. Now, we both know that it's not always or not usually in our best interest to procrastinate. So, what can we do instead? Well, we can take small, measurable steps to break down the task that we like to see completed. We can break it down into small, bite-sized, manageable tasks, right? That's something that we can do to move forward. In addition to that, it's important to, instead of always saying, I'll start next week, or I'll start tomorrow. We can make a decision, a conscious decision to start today with a small step, right? So, just like, for example, this video, in order to record this for you, I had to start with a small step. I had to start with a concept. And then from that concept, I had to start with what is my goal? What do I want to discuss? And what's going to be relevant? So each one of those is a small step in the right direction of being able to sit here and have this video for you today. In addition to that, how many times have you said someday and then someday never arrives, right? That's happened too. I've done it. We've all done it. So again, it's the one small step. What tiny step can you take today that will help you to begin to complete that task? It could be a 5-minute task. It could be a small portion. It could be an outline if you're planning on writing a book. It could be the topic of the book. It could be the subject of the book. It could be the title of the book. It can be any of those things related to a book that is needed to produce the end result. So again, start small and take action. So instead of saying, I'll start next week, go ahead and say to yourself, I'll start with a small step today. Moving on to the second shift to make. This shift is from perfectionism to progress. This is something I had to learn over and over and over and over until I finally got a handle on it. So I am a recovering perfectionist. So now I believe in taking action, and I don't believe that it has to be perfect. Gonna wait for that plane to go over. I don't believe that it has to be perfect. I just believe that I have to make progress, right? So you've heard of this term before, analysis by paralysis, right? The fact that we can overanalyze something until it actually causes paralysis. That's what I was doing, right? That's part of the whole perfectionism mindset, right? And so it can definitely keep you stuck. If you are intentional, though, you can see your way out of it by, first of all, recognizing what's happening. This is very crucial, to recognize what's happening, right? You have to catch yourself in the act. Otherwise, you will convince yourself that what you're doing is really necessary. That's why you need to really be conscious and catch yourself in the act of being perfect, right? Also, what I did realize, and this was through research, this was not like, all of a sudden I got a bright idea, but it was through my intention of overcoming that. I did some research and I found out that when you're trying to be perfect or do something perfect, it stems from wanting to be accepted or fear of being rejected. That's what it stems from. So it stems from a form of fear, right? A fear of being rejected, a fear of not being good enough, a fear that if I'm not perfect, they won't like me. So being a people pleaser has a little bit to do with that as well, right? So again, we're talking about moving from perfectionism to progress. Also, it's important to recognize that you need to celebrate the small wins as you go along and not wait until the entire project is completed. So embrace the imperfections. Embrace the fact that it's not perfect. Embrace the fact that it's not finished. It's okay. When you embrace that, then you can also embrace the small wins. And celebrating the small wins is another way of celebrating you. You need to celebrate you. Celebrate yourself, and then other people will celebrate you as well. We teach people how to treat us. So when we celebrate ourselves, then other people see us doing it and they will celebrate us too. It's very important, right? Another thing here is focus on the progress you're making rather than trying to complete it flawlessly. That's very crucial because when you're saying to yourself, I want to do this perfectly, that's what you're saying in essence, that I want this to be flawless. Now, there's nothing wrong with flawless. Flawless has its place. At the same time, give yourself grace that you don't have to be flawless every single time, right? Give yourself grace that you don't have to be flawless. You don't. You can accept yourself being imperfectly you. Be imperfectly you and accept and love and embrace yourself for that, right? Here's a great example. How about how about celebrating the fact that you completed the draft even though the final version is not finished? How about that? Celebrate that. That's victory in itself. That's something worth celebrating. The fact that you have a draft means that you took action, and that's powerful. Taking action is powerful. Nothing happens without taking action, right? So that was number 2, from perfectionism to progress. Now, here's a question you might have asked yourself, or you might be thinking, how often did the fear of not doing something perfectly stop you from starting, right? We've all been there at some point. At some point, if we've ever accomplished anything, we've all been through a phase like this, right? I know I've been there. So for the longest time, I did not want to record videos. I did not want to upload a video to LinkedIn. I did not want to upload a video to YouTube. I didn't want to upload a video to Instagram. Not at all, right? My biggest thing was, oh, I'm shy. I don't want to be on camera. But guess what? I started taking action and I showed up imperfectly. So over time, I got more comfortable being on camera and I got better at filming the video. It never would have happened if I didn't take the first step. That first step is crucial. That first step sends a signal to your brain. Yeah, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're taking action. Yes, it sends a signal to your brain, and then that brain signal gets sent everywhere else in your body and in your mind so that you can take action. Everything then starts to line up. It's a beautiful experience to take action and watch everything start to fall into place. Now, it may not happen overnight. Like, I had to shoot more than one video to get comfortable, but it did eventually happen where, hey, I'm on camera and that's what I'm doing. There's no debate anymore. There's no ruminating about it in my mind. Like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? It's not that serious. I'm human. You're human. And we show up with imperfections. Nobody's perfect. So again, that was number 2, right? Are you enjoying this so far? If you are, I want you to make sure you stick around until the end because I have a special gift for you. I have a special gift for you to help you transform within 30 days without stress. All right, moving on now to number 3. Number 3 is making a shift from fear of failure to learning opportunities, right? That's what we're doing here. We're making a shift from fear of failure to learning opportunities. So what I like to think about here is being able to reframe failure as an experiment instead of failure. I love it. When I did that, my mind was blown. And guess what? I was able to show up, flaws and all, and it didn't matter. Like, the main thing is that I took action and that I'm moving in the right direction. It was a game changer for me. I encourage you to try that. Reframe failure. Think of it not as failure, but think of it as an experiment. Failure is nothing more than an experiment that you get to learn from and you get to grow from. Here, I want to think about somebody like Thomas Edison, right? It's said that before he was successful with electricity showing up through a light bulb, he tested it more than 1,000 times. Now, imagine that. Would you have stopped at number 10? Would you have stopped at number 100? Would you have stopped at number 300? He didn't give up. Each time he experimented, he realized what did not work, and then he got a possibility of what could work. Isn't that wonderful? Think about that. Thanks to his ability to see that as an experiment 1,000 times, we have electricity today. Of course, probably somebody else would have come and invented it eventually, but thanks to his ability to stick to it, we have electricity today. Another person I like to think of is Henry Ford, right? More than likely, he didn't succeed on his first try, but he kept going. He kept going. And like Edison, he was able to experiment and find out what worked and what didn't work. It is crucial. It is crucial to your success to be able to analyze, right? Even maybe with an out-of-body experience, analyze what worked and what didn't work, and why not. And at the end of the day, you grow. You grow from that experience. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, growth is what's going to move you forward. Also here, let's talk about something else. Another example is every failure is a lesson learned and it moves you closer to success. Yes. It is so important also to note that it's due to your failures and your near misses that you build resilience and adaptability. Yeah, think about it. Resilience doesn't come from that first time around and you got it right success. No, it doesn't. Think about it. Think about it. It does not come from that. Resilience does not come from that. Resilience comes from you went through the process, you didn't get the results you wanted, but you continued to persevere. You continue to show your resolve. You continue to trust that process. That is how you build resiliency and adaptability. So every time you tried it one way and it didn't work, and you tried it another way, it all is showing you is a new way to adapt. Adapt to this change, adapt to that change, adapt to this mindset, adapt to that mindset. It's all about resilience and being able to adapt. That is so important. So that was number 3, shifting from fear failure to learning opportunities. And that's what failure does for us. Failure gives us another opportunity to learn. And then that also helps us to gain in our ability to create. to create something out of nothing, to create something with minimal resources. Our ability to create comes out of our resilience. It comes out of being able to have learning opportunities that allow us to grow. That is beautiful. Here's another way to reframe it as well. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is a stepping stone for success. Yes, failure is a stepping stone for success. So again, we're talking about reframing failures as learning opportunities. Each time something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself a question. What can I learn from this? And every failure is a lesson learned, propelling you closer to your success. That's incredible. That is awesome. So we're on number 4 now, moving right along. Number 4, shift from external validation to internal alignment. Yes, love it. Shift from external validation to internal alignment. I hope that you have pen and paper and you're writing some notes, because these are 7 keys that can help you to shift and transform within 30 days or less without stress. Yes, it's possible. It is possible. These are mindset shifts that can help you transform in 30 days or less. So again, we're on shift number 4. We're moving from external validation to internal alignment. This is an important one to really grasp, because if you don't, I find that this one will repeat itself over and over and over in life, right? We're talking about defining success on your own terms based on internal alignment with your purpose, with your goals, as opposed to some external form of validation. It's crucial. It is crucial. So it's important to focus on personal values and goals rather than external opinions, right? Yes, so it's very important. We're talking about focusing on internal alignment as opposed to external validation. This is all about your personal values and your beliefs and goals rather than the opinion of others. This has a lot to do with trusting yourself and self-confidence, right? Self-confidence from within. Self-confidence being in alignment with your true self. Self-confidence over the opinion of others. Self-confidence being the number one goal to achieve personal fulfillment and success. Remember, success means different things to different people. So, if you have an external validation for success, chances are you're not going to like what you end up with, because that's someone else's definition of success. It's not your definition. It's not based on your beliefs, your thoughts, your opinions. It's based on someone else. So a goal is to be able to define success on your own terms. That is a major goal. So your success is defined by your personal growth and fulfillment, and not by someone else's yardstick, not by someone else's meter, not by someone else's definition of success, right? It's so important, because how many times have you seen it? Like, we all go through a phase of being very impressionable around people who should have our best interests at heart, whether it's loved ones, siblings, whether it's peers, whether it's authority figures while growing up, school age years, parents, grandparents. They all have our best interests at heart. And at the same time, they may have a different definition of success for us. So at some point, we must define success for ourselves so that we have an internal alignment with the path that we choose to take, as opposed to seeking their external validation. It is so important. So many people get lost in trying to make decisions that will please other people outside of self. And a lot of times, I rarely see it go well. Usually, there's some regret in the end because that person wasn't true to themselves and didn't follow their internal alignment or source. So that is huge. So the question is this: are you living your life based on other people's expectations? True success comes from within. It comes from in here. It comes from inside. So defining what success means to you based on your values and goals is the number one priority. It's a priority, right? If you want to live a purpose-driven life, it must be a priority for you to determine what success means to you. Your success is defined by your personal growth and fulfillment and not by someone else's yardstick. That is so crucial. I remember when I was about 14, I was having a conversation with my mom about going to college. And she really emphasized the fact that she wanted us to go to college. It's 4 siblings. I have 4 siblings, so it was 5 kids. And she really iterated the fact that she wanted us each to go to college. Now, nothing wrong with that. At the time, though, I had my own opinion about what I wanted to do, and I expressed it to her. So I remember saying to her, basically, like, let's make a deal, right? I understand it's important for you that we go to college because you never got the opportunity. I understand that. At the same time, I really don't want to go to college, but I will make a deal with you that I will go to college for 2 years and I'll get that degree for you. I'll do that. And that's what I did. Now, in my mind, I already had a vision of what success looked like for me. For me, success looked like go get a job, get the experience, and get ahead of your peers who will be graduating 2 years later. You'll have 2 years experience ahead of them. And I had done my research and I knew, first of all, I knew that I was part of a baby boomer generation and I was going to be competing with a lot of people to get a job. I knew that. I had already figured that out, right? I saw the research. And so this was part of my decision making for my version of success. I felt like I'd come out ahead, or I would come out just as fine if I did 2 years instead of 4. I had already figured out that it's the first 2 years that are really general studies, and it's only the last 2 years predominantly where you actually get to work within your major. So I said, you know what? To me, I was all about efficiency. It's just, it was in my blood. It was in my genes. It was in my DNA. I was just about efficiency. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to go do that for 2 years, general studies, and then wait and then go 2 years longer to actually get experience or practice in my degree? Like, no. So, yeah, I had my own version of success, and I made a deal with her, with my mom, what I was going to do. And this is exactly the way it played out. And do you know, I ended up being the only one in my family to graduate with a degree. Now, I wasn't the only one to go to college. Four of us went to college, but I was the only one to graduate with a degree. And I wasn't there the longest. A brother was there longer than I was, but I was the only one to graduate with a degree. So it is so crucial to be able to align your goals internally with your beliefs and your version of success, because everybody else is going to have their own version of success. You need yours, right? It's best for you to have yours and allow your version to be the guiding light. Let's move on to number 5. But before we do, let me just recap what we've talked about so far. We've talked about the 7 mindset shifts to become your future self in 30 days or less without stress. And number 1, we said, was shifting from someday to one day. And shift number 2 was from perfectionism to progress. And shift number 3 is from fear failure to learning opportunities. And number 4 was shifting from external validation to internal alignment, right? So now we're on number 5. And number 5 is shifting from scarcity to abundance. Shifting from scarcity to abundance. This is huge. This is huge. This really, when I got this understanding, this changed everything, changed my perspective. Yes. Shifting the focus from what you lack to what you have and what you can create. Oh my God, this is a good one. I love it. Okay, there's so much I want to say here, so let me just start, okay? I don't know how long this one is going to take, but this is good. Shifting from what you lack to what you have and can create. So, for this one, I want to say that I'm reminded of the scripture where there are 4 lepers, and the 4 lepers, of course, they have been outcast, and they're outside of the city gates, right? And they're making a decision and having a conversation with each other about what they should do next, right? They're trying to figure out what they should do next. They said basically, like, if we go into the city and we get captured, right, then we might live or we might die. Okay, that's what they came to that conclusion. And then they also said, well, if we don't go into the city and we stay out here, we're going to starve to death. And we're still going to die. So that was another alternative. And then they talked a little bit more amongst themselves and they decided, you know what? We're better off taking our chances and going into this city. We're better off with that decision, because if we do that, there's a chance that we could live, and that we can live and eat, and that we can live to see another day. So that's what they decided to do, and it turned out to be the best decision ever, because when they went inside the camp was empty. Their opponent was not there. Their opponent left in haste. The opponent left because they feared who might be coming into the camp. And once they got inside and they checked and they looked around, lo and behold, there was plenty of food. There were priceless possessions. The dinner table was set. The food was ready to eat. The silver and gold was everywhere, was lavishly set up. The tent was filled, but not occupied. And they went in an instant from scarcity to abundance. They went from scarcity to abundance. That is a great example of focusing on what you have versus focusing on your lack. Focusing on what you have versus focusing on your lack. When you realize what you have, you will realize that you have the ability to create. You have the ability to create something. So this is a great example of a group of people who cultivated a mindset of possibility. And out of this possibility also came a mindset of gratitude. As a matter of fact, they were so grateful that they were given that opportunity to experience abundance that they went and told everybody in their town. They went to the king, they gave the message to the king, and the news spread, and the entire town was able to go and partake in the abundance the lepers experienced. It was amazing. It was amazing. So you got to realize that prior to the lepers finding this abundance, there was so much scarcity. The story goes that mothers were eating their children. There was starvation. The most priciest thing being sold for food was a donkey's head. It was horrible. There was so much scarcity. Out of that scarcity, though, someone had the ability to say, what about the possibility that it could work in our favor? So I want you to consider that. Think about the abundance of opportunities around you. Think about the resources available to you. What do you have at your disposal? What do you have that you can use to overcome the scarcity mindset? Another story that I'm thinking of from the Bible is the woman with the oil. I'm thinking of the woman with the oil who had 2 sons, and she went to the prophet and said, what must I do? My sons will be turned into slaves for the debt that my husband owed. They will take my sons away if this debt is not paid. Right? That was her story. She had scarcity. And the prophet told her, go borrow some pots from your neighbors, and you and your sons go back in your home, close the door, and start pouring from the little oil that you have into the other pots. She did exactly as he said. She went back in after gathering the pots, closed the door. She gave her sons instructions to start pouring from the oil inside the one pot and pour that oil into the other pots. They did this pot after pot after pot until they said, we have no more pots left. And guess what? Her act of obedience to the prophet took her from scarcity to an abundance situation. Yes, instantly. Just like that. Can't pop my fingers as good. Just like that. From scarcity to abundance. Just like that. And she went back to the prophet and told him, there are no more pots. He said, okay, you've got enough now. You've got enough to go sell, and you will have leftovers. And the leftovers are going to be enough for you and your sons to live off of. I love it. I love that. So in this story, we see that she went from scarcity to abundance. She went from being a poor widow to being a wealthy widow. She went from being unemployed to having her own business. And she went from poor to wealth. She went from being poor to wealthy in an instant, just like that, right? So this is what's possible when you focus on the resources you have and the possibilities those resources can create, rather than your perceived lack, because your lack is a perception. A lot of times what we perceive is worse than our situation. We often have some blinders on where we can't always see our situation for what it truly is. We can't always see the possibility in our situation. That's why it's important to have conversation. It's important to have conversation. Just like the widow had the conversation with the prophet. Before the conversation with the prophet, she perceived that, hey, it's over with. Like, they're coming to get my sons, and there's nothing I can do. I can't do a thing about it. I don't have anything. All I've got is a little bitty amount of oil in a pot. That's all I have. I don't have anything else. I don't have anything else of value. However, after she talked to the prophet, she found out that that was not true. That was her perception, but it was not reality. Is your perception reality, or is it perception? Something to think about. So again, we want to be able to focus on the resources we have and the possibilities that they create, rather than our perceived lack. Rather than the value that we place on it, we want to see it for what it is. We want to see it for the possibilities that it can create. So it's easy to focus on what you lack, but what about what you have? Shift your focus to gratitude and the abundance of opportunities all around you, and recognize the resources you possess and the possibilities they unlock. Focus on the resources you have and the possibilities they create, rather than your perceived lack. Again, it's all a matter of perception. This is why it's so important to seek others out and get wise counsel, get advice, get opinions, seek wisdom from others. Some people have gone through what you already are facing. They've already gone through it. And so it's in your best interest to find out from them, how did they overcome? What mindset shift did they have to create? What did they have to believe? What self-doubt did they have to release in order to believe the right perception that was going to help them overcome? It's so crucial, right? So now, again, if you're enjoying this, keep in mind that if you stay until the end, I'm going to have a special offer for you. I'm going to have a special offer for you to help you to be able to transform within 30 days without stress. And I want to say this before we go on to number 6 and finish up with 7. Transformation happens in conversation. I'll say that again. Transformation happens in conversation. What do I mean by that? Just like, just like what we're doing right now, we're having a conversation. And my guess is that you might be also having a conversation with yourself. You might be taking notes. And as you take notes, some of this information is going into your inner person, is going into your inner being, right? Because when you write, your brain has to participate in that process. You have a mind-body connection when you write and take notes. Your body becomes an instrument for transformation of information. That information is being translated from this exterior source to an interior source. And as you write, it's just like a hard drive for a computer, right? The code gets stored on the hard drive, and it can be accessed again at any point because it's been written on the hard drive. And the same thing is happening as you're taking notes. As you're taking notes, you've got your pen as the instrument. The pen and paper become the hard drive. The internal mind-body connection to that pen and paper is another source of storing the information. So you've got the external source being stored, pen and paper, but then you've got the internal source because the mind-body had to interpret what to write, how to write it, the characters, the sentences, the paragraphs that the sentences make up, right? All of that. Transformation happens in conversation. So as you're writing, now you're having a conversation with yourself internally. Okay? All right, moving on to number 6. We're talking about going a shift that you make from reactivity to proactivity. From reactivity to proactivity. That's the shift we're talking about right now. One of the things that's really important for entrepreneurs is, and this is great for everybody, but in particular for entrepreneurs in their business, is to be able to recognize things that will happen on a repeated basis, right? When you know something is going to happen on a repeated basis, you can go from having unplanned to having planned occurrences, right? Basically, you can go from being reactive to being proactive. Reactive to proactive. So reactive means that you know something is about to happen. Well, no, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. You know what I mean. Reactive means you're reacting to it, and it's like that's the version of like what you hear people say, putting out fires, like they're reacting. That's what that means. They're reacting to something that's happening. It was unplanned, and they're reacting to something that's happening. However, when you know something is going to happen, you can be proactive. That means you can plan in advance a course of action to take when XYZ happens. This is so phenomenal when business owners take proactive steps to manage a crisis or deal with something that they know is about to happen. They know, like every week, like they may know it's payroll, or every 2 weeks, they may know it's payroll. So if you know it's payroll, you've got to become you've got to become active. You know it's going to happen. Just be proactive about it and get everything ready. Get everything ready that you need. Get it all ready. Right? That's the beauty of being proactive. That's the beauty of being proactive. Being proactive versus reactive is all about emphasizing the importance of planning and intentional action. Yeah, I was just talking about that. Intentional action, right? Being intentional about planning. So, this is another, like, here's another example. Okay, every year there's tax season, and every year accountants and bookkeepers know that tax season is coming. Even though they know it, every year some tax people, some CPAs, tax preparers, accountants, some of them will still have this as one of their not only busiest seasons, but also one of the most craziest times of the year. Like, they know what's going to happen, but still they're they didn't really prepare to make it necessarily as smooth as it could be. You know what I mean? So they knew it was going to happen, but they didn't they didn't prepare as much as they could to make it a year of calm, a year of being underwhelmed, right? Every year it's overwhelming. Every year, that time of year, you'll see a lot of accountants. They'll say, "Oh, I can't take on new clients right now." Well, busy tax season is coming up, and I would love to meet with you, but it's the busy season right now, and I can't meet with you. I've seen it over and over. In the connection request, they'll accept the connection request and they'll say, "Oh, I would love to chat with you. Like, it would be great to talk about how we could collaborate or something, but it's the busy tax season, so yeah, I'll get back to you in like 3 or 4 months." Right? Nothing's going to happen right now. Like, I'm not able to take on any new opportunities because I'm overwhelmed with the tax season that I knew was going to happen. I knew when it was going to happen. I knew why it's happening, but still, I'm too busy to take on new business, to chat about new opportunities. I'm too busy for referrals. I'm too busy for all of that, right? That's part of that process we were just talking about. So, moving from reactivity to proactivity is about encouraging taking ownership of your time and priorities. It's about advocating for creating systems and routines to support your goals, right? Here's another example. It's about scheduling your time for priorities instead of reacting to every incoming request. That's what it's about. It's about going from making the shift from reactivity to proactivity. So, question: are you constantly reacting to emails and notifications? Or are you taking control of your time by planning your day and prioritizing your task? Right? What does that look like? It means that you are scheduling time for your priorities instead of reacting to every incoming request, right? Being proactive allows you to create your own path instead of being steered by others, right? Steered by others means you go in every direction, right? That's what happens when you're steered by others. But when you create your own path, you get to do this. So you get to stop and you get to move. You get to stop and you get to move. You get to stop and you get to move. That's what happens when you create your own path, right? So being able to shift from Reactivity to proactivity is so important. Like I said, especially for a small business owner. It's good for anybody, but it's especially good for a small business owner, because if you don't do that, you will be tossed by every whim, by every shiny object. Every shiny object in front of you will cause you to do that, like go in different directions, right? We're almost done. Again, I have a special gift for you if you stay until the end. I want to be able to empower you to transform within 30 days without stress, right? So right now we're on shift number 7. Shift number 7. Shift number 7 is about going from isolation to connection, right? From isolation to connection. So this deals with the value of building a supportive relationship and network. This is about highlighting the value of building a supportive relationship and network. This is all about encouraging mentorship and collaboration. You have to seek mentorship. Mentorship doesn't necessarily come seeking you out. You have to seek out mentorship. Now, collaboration, that goes both ways. Someone may approach you about collaborating with you, but also you have the opportunity to approach them about collaboration as well. So we're talking about moving from isolation to connection. Working in isolation is something that people who have this mind, these entrepreneurs, they have this hustle mentality, and they have this, I'm going to work hard, I'm a hard worker. They have that mentality, right? And what they tend to do is they work hard, and they work hard usually in isolation. They usually don't have any help. They usually don't seek outside support. They usually don't seek outside advice. They usually rely on themselves and only themselves to get things done. So a lot of times they're working in isolation. And when you're working in isolation, you are disconnected from the real world. You're disconnected from opportunities and possibilities. You're disconnected from people who can check in on you and make sure you're okay. You're disconnected from that. So when you go from isolation to connection, when you make that shift, it's about emphasizing the importance of giving and receiving support. No man is an island unto themselves. We all need help to achieve success. Look at it this way. If the goal that you set for yourself is so small that you don't need help, I encourage you to rethink your goal. You're not thinking big enough. Big goals and big dreams require help. So if you're saying to yourself, I got this, I don't need help, I encourage you to rethink your goal. Is it a meaningful goal? Is it a goal that moves you closer to your purpose? Is it a goal that will fulfill you in the end? Reconsider that, right? Your goal needs to be so big that you can't succeed unless people help you. That's how big your goal should be. That's how big your goal should be. I say should, but I mean, to each their own. It doesn't have to be. If you want to leave a legacy and if you want to have impact, your goal should be bigger than this. Your goal should be bigger than this. Right? That's what I mean. When I say should, that's what I mean. Right? So, Again, we want to emphasize the importance of giving and receiving support. And here's another example. Your network is your net worth only if you're intentional about building relationships that matter, right? Only if you're intentional about building relationships that are meaningful and that matter. If those relationships are not meaningful and if they don't matter, your net worth, your network is not your net worth. Okay? I'll say that again. If the relationships you're building are not intentionally high value and meaningful connections, then your network is not your net worth, right? Let's be clear about that. I've heard that expression over and over. But the truth is what I just said. Of course, you can have a net worth that's zero. I mean, you could do that. I don't think that's what we're referring to, though. We're talking about a net worth that's worth something, right? Not a net worth that's worth nothing, right? So we're talking about the shift from isolation to connection, and you're not meant to walk this journey alone. If you have big goals and big dreams, you're not meant to walk this journey alone. You can build meaningful relationships and seek out mentors who share your beliefs and offer support to others. Remember, when you invest in meaningful connections, your network becomes your net worth. Very, very crucial. When you invest in meaningful connections, your network becomes your net worth, right? So tell me, which one of these shifts resonates with you the most? We talked about 7, right? Which one of them resonated with you the most? Let's go back over them again, okay? Starting with number 1, we're talking about 7 mindset shifts to become your future self in 30 days or less without stress, right? And number 1 was shifting from someday to one day. Shift number 2 was shift from perfectionism to progress. Shift number 3 was shifting from fear of failure to learning opportunities. Shift number 4 was shifting from external validation to internal alignment. Shift number 5 was about shifting from scarcity to abundance. And shift number 6 was about shifting from reactivity to proactivity. And shift number 7, this is 7, is about shifting from isolation to connection, right? Those are the 7 shifts that you can make within 30 days, right? That will change your life. They will transform you, right? Now, I said before, several times throughout this recording, that if you stayed until the end, I will have a special gift for you. So, what I want you to do is I want you to get your special gift, I want you to send me an email. Send the email to Tracy, Tracy, D, Malone, Malone, @gmail.com. And then I want you to write in the subject line 7 shifts. The number 7 and the word shifts with an S at the end. SHIFTS, 7 shifts. I want you to send me an email with 7 shifts, and I will automatically send you your free gift for staying all the way until the end, right? And that gift is going to take you on a 30-day journey via email. to help you to make these 7 shifts, and there will be some reinforcement for you so that you can overcome in each of these areas, right? So that's my gift to you. You stayed until the end, and that's my special gift to you. But I want to know which of these 7 shifts resonated with you the most. Let me know in the comments, right? And if you're ready to go deeper and unlock your potential, I've got that special gift for you I want to give you so that you can make those next 30 days really count, right? We had a chance to go over this, but I've got something special for you so that you can make the next 30 days your best 30 days. You can shift from where you are now into your future self over the next 30 days via email. I will give you access, free access to this 30-day mindset shift, right? 30-day mindset shift. All right, that's all I have for you today. I'm looking forward to seeing you again on the next video. Make sure that you share this with someone if you found value in it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know what stood out the most, what resonated the most from this video. And I'm Tracy D. Malone, your business consultant, ready to empower you to scale your brand, your mastery, and your business so you can scale without burnout. See you next time. Take care.